Welcome to my first episode of the Leader Journeys, part of the Rooted Leader podcast series. My goal all along is to share stories of courageous people making a shift in their careers to pivot towards something that's more meaningful. Today, Sarah shares her journey from school psychologist to author and reading improvement champion for all children. And she shares her love for garbage television, which I adore. I hope that you are inspired by Sarah Brown as I am. Welcome to the Leader Journey, a series within the Rooted Leader podcast, a space for honest stories of transition, courage, and becoming. Here I sit down with folks I've met along my own journey who've stepped away from the structure of corporate life to explore something more meaningful on their own terms. These paths are rarely linear, often messy. My hope is that these conversations help you feel a little less alone, spark some reflection, and maybe even give you the nudge to trust your own journey, wherever it's taking you. Because your next chapter doesn't have to be certain to be worth beginning. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you're here. Hi, everyone. I'm Kathleen Wisemandle, and I am here with Sarah Brown. I am so excited to have Sarah be the first guest for the Rooted Leader Journey part of the podcast. Sarah and I met a few years ago when I started a community called The Journey, and it was for leaders who wanted to do more. They weren't done yet, but they might have been done with a previous version of themselves or a previous version of their careers. So Sarah, I'm so happy to have you here today. Thank you.
I'm honored to be the first guest on this podcast, really.
Yeah, thank you so much. One thing I'd like to say about Sarah is Sarah has her PhD in school psychology. And so that's really been a focus for her. She's a 2-time author, soon to be 3-time author. She's just really taking this pivot and doing so much with it. So we're so proud of her as a community and as a group of fellow women who are pivoting. So Sarah, I would just so happy to have you here today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Tell me a little bit about who you are currently and what you're doing, your role, your life, and your passion.
Yeah, I love who I am currently as opposed to what I'm doing.
Yes.
So currently my role, I would say it's threefold, but I get to just really, I work with, you mentioned school psychology. I get to work with schools and school leaders to empower them to help improve outcomes by focusing on their systems. I see teachers are the ones who make the biggest difference for students, but the way that we show up for teachers is what really makes the biggest difference in schools. And so that's really what I get to do. And I do that in several different ways. Part of it is, as you mentioned, I get to write some. And so I do a little bit of that. I speak quite a bit to groups large and small. Yeah. And then I travel a lot. And then I also I make a priority to spend. I really enjoy spending time in schools. So I work with a handful of schools fairly deeply throughout a school year and then some sporadically throughout a school year also. So I do try to stay as close to schools as I can without working in a school on a daily basis anymore.
And so how is that different than your previous role that you transitioned from?
Yeah. So the role that I transitioned directly from was I've had many lives in my career, I feel like, but directly from I actually worked. Yeah, right. Exactly. And I actually transitioned from the private sector and worked in educational technology. I worked within educational technology in the assessment sector. And so worked within an assessment company, serving as a subject matter expert for them in the thing that I'm an expert in within education.
That's awesome. And so did that experience sort of give you a sense of what was a need out there that you wanted to address?
I've been doing that for my entire career. So that's been building since I left college, started graduate school. I sort of fell into this area of expertise right after college when I just happened into the program that frankly funded me. And so I went to the graduate school program that would give me the most money. And that's how I ended up in the grad program I did. And then they really pushed me toward the area of expertise that I ended up in. That is great because that's where I ended up really passionate. That's where my passion grew and I think where I belonged. And from there, I just really grew in expertise from that. And so I've always kept myself really grounded in that and really close to educators and listening to what educators in schools needed. And so I've really never left that. Even when I was working at the company, I've always kept myself pretty close to schools.
You kept
Yeah.
hearing that theme. I love the
Yeah.
relationship. I love knowing what they need
Mhm.
and seeing it from the data, it sounds like as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. When so when did you start to realize that that piece was no longer for you or that you wanted to grow into multiple facets? Because I can see that a lot of us like the challenge of doing multiple different things. And it sounds like that resonated for you too.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple things, life wise. My father had passed within the past year or so, and I was in a place where I realized, right, time is really all that we have. And so that was a piece of it. I started to value time just in a different way than I think I had thought about it previously. Um, and that combined with, I started to, I don't know if this was a result of more Zoom meetings being a part of our lives. This was post pandemic, but my life it felt like one big Zoom meeting, one right after the other. And I mean, there were days I was in 13 or 14 Zoom meetings. I was definitely dreading meetings at times. And I really enjoyed the people that I worked with and I loved my work. And so to be really passionate about the work that you're doing, but to dread the meetings you were going into just didn't feel right. And
Yes, you could feel
so,
that tension. Something wasn't right.
yeah. Yeah. And so that combined with just valuing time differently, just family things led me to a place where I was just looking for a little bit more flexibility within my career too. And so that coupled with, I had this book in my head for the previous probably year and a half that I really wanted to write. And there was no way that I was going to be able to write a book with the role that I had in my career. And so I spent a couple months really laying out and made an action plan for myself to build out what would it take, what would I need to build in order to take the leap and be comfortable with the leap. And
Yes, because I mean, I think that's what I hear commonly from women who are making, or people in general, or who are making a
Mhm.
change, is that we really have to think about it. There's that doubt that creeps up, but also that pull that, hey, I want some either flexibility or I want some more autonomy on the work I'm doing, or I want some greater complexity. But usually there is a life event that triggers us from, lifting up our head to say, wait a minute. So I need to align something with my values, which sounds
Mhm.
like now you feel more congruent with your values.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't think I was running away from something. Like I really do want to I was running towards something though. Like
Yes,
I
I
I
love
would
that.
I wasn't leaving something. I think I always want to be careful because I think that I find that if you're running from things, you oftentimes end up in situations where you end up running from the same thing over and over again. I think it's careful, like, especially when we look at like corporations and industry, like a lot of it is reinforced by the same things, right? And so you have to be careful. Like, there is no perfect situation. I mean, my husband and I just this morning were having a conversation about how I work more now. Like, if you looked at my schedule, I work more hours now than I ever have. And when people quit a job and they're working for themselves, one of the things that people love is flexibility, right? They'll say, oh, I have flexibility now. I can work less. I work more on a
Work more.
daily. My husband jokes that I have a 6.5 day week now. And it's probably true. And I've done that to myself and I love it. And so there are definitely like there are trade-offs to everything. And probably everybody doesn't do that. But I think you have to be careful. I definitely wasn't running from something. I was running
Oh, I
towards
love
something.
that. I love that reframe so much. I wonder do you know what your motivators are? Is that clear for you? Do you think what motivates you to continue?
Probably some of them, right? Some of the things that motivate me are I like challenge for sure. I like to solve problems.
That's
I
why I like you so
absolutely.
well.
And we get along for that
Yeah,
reason,
that's
I'm
right. Yeah,
sure.
we totally
Yeah.
know how each other think. Yeah.
I definitely like to solve problems. I am motivated by organizing and completing things. I am motivated by tackling things and digging in and thinking and really that cognitive framing of things. And I do like to work with people and I like to accomplish things, but I am definitely a make a plan, do a plan kind of person.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that.
yeah.
And I think Sarah's been so great when we have a community, even helped us understand what the first steps are to writing a book. So others had thought about, wow, what if I wrote a book? And you just made it so simple to start thinking about it and make it accessible to others. So thank you for that. Now, when you decided to start pivoting, now again, you're not running away from anything, but you're running
Yeah.
toward.
Yeah.
Did you have any doubts or fears? What was that like for you?
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
I would say I still do. Last night, I even told my husband something, and he looked at me and he's like, "We're not even talking about that." He's like, "That's ridiculous." And I was like, "You're right. I retract that statement." I basically said, "What if I don't get any more work this year? Like, can you help me?" And he's like, "We're not talking about that." So I think a lot of my fears were probably there was some embarrassment, I would say, that about like, and I'm going to say ego driven, but ego from like the emotional ego, like I'm not like a very egotistical type of
No, not at
like
all.
idea.
I
Like that
get
is not
you.
how people would describe me, I don't think.
No.
But that idea of like how like people would see me in my career, right? Like this idea of stepping back almost in my career, like when people see this as a step back in your career. And I think a lot of women would like struggle with the same thing in these situations.
They do.
And so that was probably the first one. The second one that I think I struggle with consistently and that I think I will struggle with for as long as I'm in this, and that is just a working for yourself type of thing that everybody does, is just that idea of like, will I continue to have opportunities to work? Will opportunities continue to come my way? And that I think is just something. I have a friend who's in a completely different field and she's successful as well. And she has similar fears. And she's like, "Sarah, that's just part of being a small business owner. It just is part of that work, is that you're always nervous about that." So I have just phrases that I keep that I will update at different points in time, that I just keep on my computer and near me, that I'll update at different points in time to just remind myself that I am capable, that I have demonstrated my ability to be successful, and that
I love that. Would you
yeah.
mind sharing? Do you have one that you might be willing to share?
Well, right now I have one that is that I value myself more than my work, because I have to be saying
Oh,
some no to some things. That is my current one,
yeah.
because I do have to say no to some things in order not to be working more than 6.5 days a week. Um, because that is my
That's
current struggle.
also a very common theme I'm seeing, not only from myself, but others that I connect with, is setting the boundaries that allow us to be healthy and have well-being, which is an important pivot sometimes. Is I want to do more, but I want to have choice in what I do so I can maintain well-being. So important. So thank you for calling that out. We
Yeah.
are more than our work. And some of us, I think, have had to rewire our brain on what achievement looks like. I wonder, is that something you have dealt with?
I think that we've talked about this before. And so I've tried. I don't know that I will ever successfully rewire my brain about what achievement looks
Fully.
like.
Yes. Right.
I mean, I think that I have gotten past the part of thinking that achievement means a specific title. I don't know that I ever actually like thought that achievement meant a specific title. That was never something that I strove for. And I think I was in the public sector. I didn't start in the private sector. And so I worked in schools and then in the State Department. And so there you weren't trying to be a VP. Like that wasn't a thing. And so, and I was never trying to be a superintendent, because frankly, a superintendent is an awful job. Like people who want that are
Sorry,
crazy.
superintendent.
And so, sorry, super. They know
Yeah.
it's an awful job. Like
Oh,
nobody
yeah,
wants
right.
to
They're like,
decide
why
a
did I
snow
want this?
day. Like, no, yeah, nobody wants to choose a snow day. Like nobody's happy. And so it's a lose-lose. And yeah, that wasn't ever on my radar. In other ways, though, you get in the public sector, there are things that come at you, right? Like choosing to move away from academia when I got my PhD and not going to academia, but going to applied work was one area where I felt I was moving away from some expectations. I do think, though, the amount of working more was achievement. I do think probably rewiring that a little bit. I also think, though, I'm a person who enjoys my work and I love what I do. And for me, I also appreciate and have accepted that one of my hobbies is my work, and that's okay. Like,
It's okay.
that's okay. And so,
It's okay.
and so it's okay for people where it's not, but it's also okay that it is for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you a question that's not on the list. What do you
Yeah.
like to do for fun outside of the work? So like, what's the
Yeah.
other part of Sarah besides creator, connector, relationship builder?
Yeah.
What else do you like
Yeah.
to do?
I love garbage television.
Oh, yay. Oh,
I
that's
am
right.
obsessed
Yay.
with garbage television. Yes, I'm obsessed with it. I am obsessed with it. So I like to Marco Polo because I am Gen X all the way. And so I like to Marco Polo my friends and talk about the garbage television that we watch. And then, yeah.
What's your favorite right now?
Well, I mean, right now, this is very timely. We are all on. There is a big summer house scandal happening this week
Oh,
that is really taken over all of our lives. It's really it's sad. But it's all, I mean, it's
like
very
it's
dramatic.
really,
It's very
yeah,
dramatic. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's taking over everybody's lives right now.
I
But
love
yes,
it.
I mean, Below Deck is a great one to start with if you're looking to
I am not.
completely check out of your life
I do not.
and
Like, you're not going to
enjoy.
drag me down there. I am not going.
Okay.
But I love it.
It's probably good. Do not
I'm
join
sure
me in
some
this course,
listeners
but
will
it's yes, it's
absolutely,
yeah,
align with you on that. So
yes,
thank you so
yes,
much.
yeah.
What advice would you give your younger self or someone else who might be starting to feel some of the things that you had mentioned earlier?
I think like it's okay to like move toward it, right? Like just continue to I think trust that the things that you're learning now are setting you up for your future success. And don't view the things that you're doing now as dead ends. What I've found is every single thing that I've done has set me up to be successful to what I'm doing now. And every single thing that I've said yes to has provided me with learning and knowledge, expertise for like this. And so I'm super grateful for all of the experiences that I've had because all of those have taught me the things and the expertise that I'm using now to serve the people that I have the opportunity to work with and help get me the clients that I have today.
Yeah,
The
I love that.
connections that I have that continue to grow the work that I get to do.
Yeah, it's so true. And we might not know it yet, but that path is setting us up for something that when it comes our way, we're like, now I understand.
Yeah, 100%. Or if you get to review like a budget or like looking at like random things that don't even seem like they're appropriate to your job right now, you might use it as a part of your business that has nothing to do, like the admin side of your business that has nothing to do with the work that you do. And so those things that I've been able to pull on just because they were kind of side parts of work that I've done over the years that I was just tangentially related to because I had a friend. So I think sometimes we tend to get stuck in things and we think about, oh, I'm stuck right now. And so I think just reframing some of that to be, what can I learn right now? Like maybe I can't make a move right now. And that's like, it might be true, right? You might not be able to make a move right now. And like, because you need health insurance, because of whatever reasons, if that's the case, then what are all the things that you can learn and how can you set it up so that you're gaining the things that you're going to be able to, you're just making collections of all the things that you could use in your next life.
That's such a great point. I know I have the fortune of being able to step away and still have health insurance with my husband's work. But I do like that idea of exploring and experimenting. Even if you can't leave the role you're in, how might you experiment or explore an area you're interested in? And I did a little bit of that before I left my role. I did an entrepreneurial workshop to just say, can I do this? Like, what are some of the back office things I need to worry about? So thank you for that. Another question I didn't have on the list, but Who inspires you? Who's your inspiration?
So professionally, I've had several mentors, I think, that have inspired me along the way. And at different points in my career, different people. My very first almost supervisor in my internship, my very first year in my career, you go on an internship your first year. Basically, you're free labor for the first year.
Yeah, yeah.
And you work full time for
Great. Yeah.
almost practically zero pay. And so full-time job, she was amazing. And Maddie Phillips was my first inspiration. And then when in my first job, it was Randy Ellison and Sharon Kerr. So both just like amazing folks in my field who I looked up to and who I learned from. But I valued both what they knew, but also how they worked with people, right? Like the way that what I really looked up to was what they knew, but more than that, like how I saw they showed up for schools, for teachers, and for their staff and team members. Like I would just watch that and be like, I want to be like them when I grow up, right? And I still think that every day. Like I still think like, how can I be like Sharon Kearns? Like how can I be like Randy Allison? And I still think that. I still think, what would Randy say? Or I say something and I think, oh my gosh, Randy would say that. And then I'm proud of myself, right? I can feel myself sit up a little taller. Like if I think, oh, I think Sharon would have said it like that. I think I'm showing up for a staff member like Sharon would have when I supervised team members. I'm interested for you. Like who are the people that you look up to?
Gosh, it's so incredible. I have to say that, well, you were such an inspiration to me when I was thinking about going back to school, which seemed crazy at my age. And you were so supportive of that. And that helped me think through it from a different perspective without worrying what people are thinking about, because I wanted to explore that problem area that I was interested in. I think for me, one of my first bosses, Laurel Mingle-Gott, she was one of my first bosses early in my career, but had pivoted to be a consultant, which again, at that time seemed a little unexpected, but yet I saw the success she had, and she's always somebody I reach out to at least annually, and I'm really thankful for her. Other than that, I think when I read stories like by Brene Brown, who's so vulnerable and shares so much of her journey, and when I see things like that resonate with me, I'm like, okay, so I am not crazy, but I still have a need to explore areas of myself, even at my stage, and help others who might be struggling with that. And that was really the reason for this podcast, is to say, how might others be feeling these things and feel they're alone? Because when you're wanting to make a change from something that you might really enjoy and have the benefit of having a very good job, it does feel a little unnatural. But just to let you know that it is also very natural to want more or different. So thank you for asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the best part of your pivot? And how many years has it been since you pivoted?
Yeah, it's almost 3. It's almost
wow,
3.
okay.
Yeah. So in May, in just a few months, it'll be 3.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Yeah, it feels like yesterday and it feels like forever. One of the most surprising parts, I'll start with a surprising part, which you didn't ask, is somebody else reached out to me who I used to work with and scheduled a meeting with me asking the same thing, who, like women who met with me or reached out to me to say, I am so impressed. This is so brave.
So good.
And like the number of people, I had several people like reach out to me that I worked with, like just acquaintances at work. And then multiple of them like scheduled time with me to talk about it. And one just, 2.5 years later, an acquaintance at work booked time with me, just recently reached out on LinkedIn to talk to me about it because is thinking about having a similar pathway. And so I think that it's interesting. Like that was surprising to me because I didn't think it was something that people would be watching.
But they do.
Apparently so. Apparently so, yeah.
Well, I mean, you've been making such a big difference with the book and talking with the schools and giving them an opportunity to have a framework that's really helping them at a time that they don't have a lot of resources and opportunity to create these things for themselves. Did I summarize that okay?
Yeah, I hope. Yes. Yeah, it was very kind. But yeah, I hope so. Right. Like that's what we hope. We've been very, very fortunate. The book is that we've been very fortunate. Honestly, the best part is I never see a meeting on my calendar that I dread. There's not one that I don't look forward to, which is, it's just, that is the best part. That is the
That's
best part.
That's a gift. Yeah. But you created that. And I love that for you. And I love that you have set those boundaries and are doing the work by exploring and building those relationships. You're knowing what the need is and how you can help address it, especially during such a crazy time with education in the country.
It's a crazy time in every sector, but
Right.
yeah, in education, it's a uncertain time for sure. We still have, kids are still showing up to school every single day, and every single one of them needs to learn to read. And as much now as ever before, it's really critical to their success. We cannot be successful in society without knowing how to read. And I'm very committed to making sure that all of our kids have that opportunity. So,
No, I love that. Such a beautiful mission. So, well, I I could talk to you for hours, but we'll go ahead and start the lightning round, which we just want to try to get a few questions for all the guests to get a sense of who you are. So,
I love.
first one, mountains or beach?
Oh, mountains and pool. The beach, I don't do sand.
Oh,
But the pool next to a beach,
yes.
love.
That's
the pool next to a beach.
Okay, that's fair.
Yes, then I
Okay.
would choose that. But yes, otherwise
Okay,
mountains.
Okay, I get you. Yeah. Okay. What's your go-to beverage in the morning?
Sadly, Pepsi One. I wish I would say water, but it's Pepsi One.
Maybe we'll get
Zero. Pepsi Zero.
a
Zero. I think it's called.
sponsorship.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that about you. That's hilarious. I know you drink the water like additive things because I've seen you
Yeah,
drink.
squirts. Yes, yes.
Okay, what's a non-negotiable for you now?
I mean, I think it might be working for myself. I think it really might be working for myself, which
Well,
is
expensive
which
stuff.
is sad. I know, and I say I only have hesitation in my voice because I do have a professional acquaintance who she has a very successful that she's invited me to join as a leader in her org. And so if I didn't have, I would, she's one of the only people that I would want to work for again. And I just, yeah, but I think it might be a non-negotiable at this point.
I love that because it really does define for us, especially when a new exciting opportunity comes up. What is it that really grounds us in doing the work that we do? And I'm really happy to hear that that is one for you, despite all the other things that could be very congruent with who you are and where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important
for
us.
now. For now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that too, because it can still be a journey that does this.
I never know.
What is your go-to rest ritual?
Definitely it's garbage
The garbage
television.
TV.
Yeah, sadly,
And,
yes,
however
yes.
we reset is fine. And then lastly, complete the sentence, please. Now my work feels blank.
I'm restorative.
I love that.
Almost. Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you, Sarah, for being my first guest. I appreciate so much that you easily raised your hand when I asked the community members. And I'm excited for people to connect with the topics that you've talked about today, the themes. And I was just really inspired to start something like this because when I heard stories of famous people that Amy Poehler interviewed, or maybe Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I was like, wow, I never realized those people had struggles like other real people. And I thought those stories were so meaningful at a time I was questioning myself. So I thought, well, what if we did it for people? I'll have men and women on the podcast who are a little bit different than the status quo, and just realizing that that's not so abnormal. So,
Yeah.
well, any words?
No, I appreciate that you're doing this, that you're having these conversations. I see you as just as a person who connects people and who just seeks out these relationships and just boldly goes after having these conversations and bringing them to light. I think that is just really important to keep it at the forefront and to keep us having these conversations and reflecting on these things. So I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful that we met 3 years ago and that we just continue to have these conversations. Truly, I appreciate that you continue to keep it at the forefront.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Because sometimes I wonder, what the heck am I doing? But what the heck, right? There's not a ton of listeners, but if it just hits one or two people the right way, then there we go. That's worth it. So
I agree.
thank you again, Sarah. And we will have the links to Sarah's books and her LinkedIn in the show notes. And I'm so grateful you got a chance to meet my friend Sarah today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
For me, I always appreciate how real Sarah is, and I can also appreciate being a planner and a doer. So thanks, Sarah, for those wonderful tips, and thanks for sharing your journey. And if this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to take a moment and ask yourself, what does your next step potentially look like, and what might be holding you back? Thanks for joining. And as always, stay rooted in your empathy, authenticity, and a little bit of courage.